This is Remix Report with your hosts, DJ JD and DJ J Spring.
Today's video brought to you by yourdjlogo.com. Get your new DJ logo today.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Remix Report. I'm DJ JD.
I'm DJ J Spring, and today is a weekend recap, and we have a special guest. We have Danny Rockz joining us. What's going on, dude?
What's going on, fellas?
Not too much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You wrote a dope article that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but we're going to start off with the usual. We'll ask you what you did this weekend.
This weekend was a nice, quiet weekend for a change. Just basically DJ'd Whip New York on Friday, and then aside from that, spent the rest of the week / weekend just visiting friends, going to birthday parties, and just checking out the scene around New York, because since I haven't been there as often. So
Cool.
Is that where you're from?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. I did Shrine on Friday, and then on Saturday I was back at Scorpion Bar. So went pretty good. Both nights were actually decently busy.
Cool. I actually had I had Friday off. Got a gig cancellation, so had it open and decided not to even try to fill it because it was nice to have a Friday off. And then I was at Shrine on Saturday. We had Silver Medallion doing a performance, who we interviewed on here a few weeks ago, so go check out that interview. And then Sunday we had our Paddy's Palooza performance at Paddy's at Musquodocket Beach in Rhode Island, along with a bunch of other local DJs. It was kind of like a local DJ festival put on by Insight Events, and of course After Dark helping out on that as well. So what do you have?
When you say local, it was. I mean, we had guys from Boston and Providence.
New England
as well.
local.
New England local.
Yeah.
I think that makes it sound better than just a local DJ festival.
All right.
But I'm glad this weekend. I've been looking forward to this weekend for a long time with the Palooza. And shout out again, Insight Events. Shout out to Ryan, Chase, After Dark. I was looking forward to it for so long, and we actually put in a little bit of work planning our set. And we made a lot of clean edits too, because no swears at Paddy's Beach. And
yeah, I think you were up till what, like 6 or 7 a.m. the night before making clean edits.
I really didn't sleep at all this weekend between working on my CD, which still isn't done, and
Don't worry, guys, it's another double CD at least. So
between doing that and making the clean versions. You know what's tough? The toughest thing about the CD is I really do try to make it sound as perfect as I can between transitions and stuff. And I mean, there's certain songs where I don't really want to mess with the track listing at this point, and certain songs where the energy doesn't flow as good as I want it to, and trying to add sound effects and stuff, which is, I know it's kind of cheating, to make it kind of flow as best as I can without making it too obvious that I'm doing that. That's one of the toughest parts.
all right, so I guess let's talk about the Palooza a little bit. We debuted a few original remixes that we've been working on.
Yes, they went over pretty good, I would say. We're kind of excited how they went over. Do you want to say what they were? We haven't even told anybody what we've been working on.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, we did Flip Side by Freeway. That was one of the ones that we did. We did Move Bitch and In the Club were three that we put out there.
They definitely need some work. I think we need to
A lot of work.
find some better sounds as far as like the synth sounds go and everything. But I think the basic idea is definitely there.
I mean, they were pretty much rushed, so we could play them for the Palooza.
Definitely rough drafts, but yeah. Actually, I plan on putting up my mix from yesterday, either as video. I tried to put it up on YouTube earlier, but they pretty much had my playlist there in the copyright infringements. And it was available only in 2 countries. It was not available in 245 countries. Available in South Sudan and the West Bank were the 2 countries it was available in. The United States was not included. So, unfortunately, and I'm gonna have to try Vimeo next. But if the videos don't work, I'll at least have the audio up there. So you will hear the Flip Side that we've been working on in there. You won't hear Move Bitch or In the Club, however. So
okay, definitely. I was a little upset at how you played it In the Club.
I know. Jeez.
We put hours and hours of work into the breakdown, and
Yeah, I mixed out right before the breakdown.
you just
like
pretty much
an
played.
idiot.
You might as well just play the original in the club. But that's okay. Now we know. Flip side, it seemed like the breakdown we did lasted way too long. Probably could be cut in half.
Yeah, originally we had put a little vocal clip over it, and I think that made it sound shorter, but without the vocal on it, it definitely sounded twice as long as it should have been. But
We could talk about all our problems from producing, but I think a lot of the guys who had made the switch into production from doing the mashups earlier than we're finally getting into this, really. So these are probably problems that everyone else has been going through for the last 2 or 3 years.
yeah, maybe. But yeah, it was a great party. A lot of people showed up, and it was a great beach party.
When the beach is full like that, there's no better place, and people are just there to rage, literally.
Yeah, and I know the owners were pretty happy with the clientele also.
The owners are real cool there. So everything went off really good, and like I said, we've been looking forward to this for so long. The weather was perfect, so couldn't ask for more, really.
All right. Well, I guess let's move on to our quick bit of news. There isn't a whole lot of news in the last week. The only thing I could really find of any interest is that the Serato 2.4.3 beta is out. It adds FLAC support for people who want to play lossless audio, which is definitely a big deal. So very cool. Also, Serato Video and Itch also have betas available for their next updates. So if you're a beta freak and want to give that stuff a try, go to Serato.com, check them out. All right, so on to Danny Rockz article. A little bit about Danny also. He's been traveling with Pauly D over the last few months, kind of as the local tech and opening DJ. Is that pretty accurate?
That is pretty accurate.
Awesome. So we'll probably get into some of that a little later as well, because I'm sure you have millions of things to talk about there. I mean, we had a great time when I opened up for Pauly at the Mass Mutual Center a few weeks ago, and just to see that kind of environment every night when you're out with them must just be insane. So
Yeah, it's definitely an experience.
all right, so let's talk about this article, The Art of Open Format DJing. Why don't you give us a little rundown kind of about maybe why you came up with the article and maybe a few of the main points you're trying to make.
All right, I guess the essential beginning of it all was, it's basically something we all come across at some point. You know, I go out to a nightclub, you know, regardless of the place, you come across another DJ or somebody in nightlife, and immediately there's some form of criticism, like who's playing what, why they're doing this, why they're doing that, why they're not doing this, why they're not doing that. And I feel like there's just so much like gray area that people have, like as far as what they think their definition of what a good DJ is and what maybe like other people think a good DJ is. And I felt like at least putting an article out there with, you know, basically not just my opinion, but also maybe some things people should be doing to, you know, step up their game and just make themselves better and a little more interesting instead of just being so like flat, you know, at every event. Essentially just trying to shake things up a little bit and, you know, try and get some feedback from the community and, you know, see if we could take things in a different direction.
Cool. So you said, like one example you gave in here was, you said you were at a lounge somewhere in New York, and the DJ wasn't probably playing the right kind of music. You said it was a lounge environment, but he was playing like super like ultra music fest.
Oh yeah,
fist pumping kind of music, and definitely not right for the crowd. And the crowd didn't really look like they were too into that style of music at that venue.
What it was actually, there's a neighborhood bar right in the corner for me, and it's set up like an actual bar restaurant, which is cool. Whatever, you know, it's great. It's great to see that they're hiring DJs. It just tells me that, you know, the DJ lifestyle has caught on to the point where like even some casual little place that generally wouldn't have one is actually going out to like, attempt to like bring in some form of like entertainment in the form of a DJ.
The owners of the beach that we DJ'd at have told me how things have changed in the last few years, especially they've gotten away from bands in particular, and they understand now that things are really all about the DJ, which I guess is really fortunate for us that even places like what you talked about are hiring DJs now too.
Yeah. So essentially I'm walking by this place coming back from the store, and it's this young kid playing, which is great. Like everyone starts off somewhere. We were all inexperienced at one point in time. No one starts off great, at least not that I know of. And I swear to God, I thought I was at like Ultra Music Festival. And I'm just saying, I'm like, take a look around. You have a bunch of people eating, people at the bar, people trying to socialize. It's a fun atmosphere. Nowhere, you don't see glow sticks anywhere. You don't see dancers. There's no stage. There's no crazy lighting. There is no lighting. Just dimly lit, whatever. So I'm telling myself, like, what in this kid's mind it really says, like, oh, wait, this is the appropriate thing to play, or is he just thinking along the lines of, oh, electronic music popular, let's just play a whole electronic set and hoping that people will accept it, not realizing the environment that he's in and the people that are hanging out there. And, that's, follow-up motivation for the article that was written.
Well, I can say, I mean, in my opinion, this is something that we talk about on the site too. There's, I think using the word contradiction would be the wrong word in your article, and what you said about what he did there being totally wrong, you're absolutely right. And I think from being at Shrine sometimes opening up, when I'm playing like a Lady Gaga song opening and then it goes to a crazy Dutch part that I didn't expect, I feel like almost embarrassed. I want to hide underneath the DJ booth because I wasn't expecting that to happen at all. But the one thing, and you mentioned this concept in your article, is about as a DJ you want to be different, and now being different seems to be like playing the EDM that other people aren't playing and stuff, and at the same time you want to give the crowd what they want, so you have to find like a balance of those two things, of being different and of playing what's appropriate for your gig. And it's not always that easy to find that balance. I would say that kid was trying to make an impression, and the impression he made was obviously the wrong one, but
yeah.
He understood the second part of your article, I guess, the being different thing. He just didn't find the right spot to do it in.
But hey, maybe there's a chance that one of the Ultra promoters was eating at the restaurant at that moment and would book him to play the main stage this next year at Ultra. Based on that set, maybe that's what he was hoping for.
Not going there. Man,
chances of that are pretty slim, I'd say. So
yeah,
I've definitely had to about what the first part of the article, how all DJs critique other DJs. I definitely agree with that, and that's something that I've had to do. Like when I go out with my friends on an off night, and they're always asking me, "Oh, how's this DJ? What do you think?" And I'm just like, I don't even get into it anymore, really. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, I would have been like, "Oh, I can't believe you played this song after that one," and "Oh, that blend was a little bit off." But I've definitely relaxed on that stuff lately. And like you said, everyone starts somewhere. And in terms of myself DJing, I've been doing it for a long time now, and I've been putting in the work lately and trying to get better and finding songs, and I feel very comfortable with where I am now. So if I hear someone that I don't like in particular, or do something that I don't like, I can understand that's probably something I would have did 3 or 4 years ago, and I've put in the time to grow, and that person hopefully will put in the time to grow as well.
Yeah. I mean, this article too, it also touches on, I feel like a lot of people are growing in the wrong direction. And the reason why I called it an open format, DJ, is because you really can't compare that to someone who's like a house DJ or someone who's more into like a different genre. Open format is like its own life form. And that's why, like, when I see people try and judge someone like, I don't know, let's use Pauly, because I've been working with Pauly. You have a lot of people got upset when they saw him on like the Forbes list, right? But if you look at the other people on the Forbes list, the other people are electronic house DJs, and he's an open format DJ. They're in like two completely different directions. So the fact that people try and compare them on some level, it's like, yes, maybe they share a similar title, but as far as like DJing goes, they operate like two different people. It's like trying to compare an orange to grapes. They're both fruit, but they're like two completely different fruit.
And people have to also understand, and I'm sure Pauly understands this as well, I don't want to speak for him, but the money that he makes, it's literally, if you want to be literal, he is getting that money to DJ. But in reality, some of that money is to DJ, some of that money is just to be there as Pauly D. And I'm sure Pauly obviously probably understands that as well.
Oh yeah.
So
well, I think
if anyone's hating on him for making so much, one, obviously it's retarded that they're hating because they don't understand the whole concept. But two, they have to understand it's not all for DJing. It's just for him making an appearance, as well as, I mean, all the other Jersey Shore cast members. Some get more than others, but a lot of them have had success and go into clubs and stuff and getting paid for appearances as well.
Oh, yeah,
he's
of course.
definitely fortunate to have the DJ thing in addition, which he's been able to get the most out of the Jersey Shore
Thing.
the Jersey Shore thing. So he's done a good job. He's been real smart about it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So you mentioned creativity in here and used DJ AM as the perfect example of creativity, I think, saying that DJs should do a few things to be creative, be well versed in many genres. Listen carefully to his creativity when he enhanced the party, create a good vibe, and he also used turntablism to add a little flair. Can you speak a little bit more on the way you see creativity being used today in DJ sets and where you'd like to see it go?
Okay. First of all, let me step back and just say that I know people like to use the term like EDM and how EDM is popular and all this stuff, which kind of upsets me because it's like it's become such like a new term. You know, electronic music has been around for a very long time, and all of a sudden now people like just to use EDM, which refers to electronic music as a whole, everything from drum and bass to techno and everything in between. So, you know, meanwhile, the people that I feel use the term EDM are really just referring to like progressive house or trance, and meanwhile it encompasses a bit more than that. But even though it's popular, there's still a huge open format scene that I think people are either afraid to jump into or feel like it's not as popular. Meanwhile, it really is, because, you know, at least a lot of the parties I've been doing over the past year or so, it's, you know, I try and keep it more open format, regardless of, like, of course I'll play like a few electronic songs, but I'm not playing an entire electronic set by any means, nor am I sticking to the genre entirely. Or maybe I'll play like 2 or 3 songs and dip out to like, to hip hop, to rock, to, you know, some classics. And you're bouncing around, you're keeping it flowing, you're keeping it creative and different. People like variety, you know, people haven't lost that. It's just that what people think is popular has somewhat changed, and there's still the demand for the variety. I feel like people kind of gave it a back seat for some reason, you know, maybe because they just are going with whatever they think is popular or just following the trend or something, instead of trying to keep pushing the creative aspect of let's mash everything together.
So I think part of that might be that mashups as a remix genre have kind of gone away recently, but I think too many guys got used to playing the mashed up versions of songs instead of just figuring out a way to work in the original or a redrum of it. And
oh yeah,
so they have all these old mashups that to them are probably stale. There's really no one making new ones because they've all been made anyway. And yeah, and they're not going back to try and mess with the originals, which are still classics on their own.
Oh, of course. And the only reason why I use these guys like AM as an example is because AM wasn't just playing mashups. AM would sit there and sample beats from, you know, Ultimate Beats and Breaks, and would be using them to redrum classics or originals of songs, you know, all live while, you know, playing at an event or something. So it's like, it's just doing something different, you know, as opposed to just going to Crooklyn Clan and just downloading the top 100 favorite mashups and saying like, oh, this is a great set. You know, Crooklyn Clan is a great resource. You know, it definitely helped, you know, explode that whole mashup scene, you know, but there's definitely a demand for variety and open format DJing out there. It's just, you know, people just need to make it happen.
I go into a lot of gigs these days assuming that I'm going to be playing a good amount of house and maybe sneak in some dubstep, because, I mean, say what you want about that stuff, but it is kind of like the buzz at this moment, which we all know.
Oh,
so I go in assuming I'm going to play that, and there's been a lot of times, more often than not lately, where it just doesn't work like I'm expecting it to, and I end up having to go back to the other stuff and play a lot more top 40. I think a lot of DJs are suckered into what they see on the dance floor sometimes, where if you are playing a good top 40 open format set, you'll have maybe, in terms of how big the crowd is, you could have 200 people dancing and having a good time. But if you're playing a good house dubstep set for that same crowd, your dance floor won't be as big, but you might have 50 people going absolutely insane. So it's like, it's kind of, I can see where people get suckered into seeing those 50 people fist pumping and jumping up and down and wilding out. You don't really see that when you're playing Where Have You Been by Rihanna. The song gets a huge, you hear people scream when it's dropped, but they're still dancing, the dance floor is full. But you play that Skrillex dubstep song that those 50 people really want, and they're going nuts on the dance floor. So you're not really playing for the majority, but you're playing to see the people who are actually into it just go absolutely insane.
Well, here's the other view on that. I mean, there's a lot of venues that, for the better or for worse, pretty much want to be electronic dance music venues. They want to be house music venues. They don't want to play hip hop. They don't want to play too much pop because it's gonna, put the wrong vibe on the club. They want to do what's going on in Vegas, and they want to do what's hot and new. And I mean, no matter if you want to be an open format DJ there or not, that's not necessarily what they always want either.
Yeah, well, that's where the argument comes in, where, once you show a venue or a place that they can still make money and have a fun party while having an open format DJ or having an open format set held there, I feel like places are all about making money, and they're all about a good time, as long as things mesh together well. Obviously you don't want people shooting each other and stuff, or you obviously want your clients to have a good time. You want people to come back. You want people to continuously want to spend money at your venue. And I bring up a perfect example. I was doing this place called Stash on Saturday nights for at least 7 months or so, every week. And every week it was a straight open format party. Whatever we like, no holds barred, like whatever you wanted, anything goes. And every week the place was crazy. Every week it was fun, and it made me feel really good because it's something I haven't seen around in a while. And it just made me think, like, you know what? Obviously all hope isn't lost for this. It's just a matter of time before it bounces back around. Everything comes and goes in waves. And this whole electronic thing, it's good and fun. But also, there are people that want to go out and hear other stuff. They don't necessarily want to go out and rage to dubstep all night. And I can't hate on dubstep because I initially wasn't all about it when it first came around. But now I can't say, I'm not a fan, because I do enjoy a lot of dubstep remixes and songs and stuff. I do like to play them. I do like to rage to them. And I know Jason probably saw me, the night at the Mash Mutual Center and go nuts on stage, because I do enjoy it. Not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna pretend that so.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
I just want to say about what we were just talking about, in terms of what the venues want for music. I mean, I'm going to use one song in particular, and this is a song that kind of has a lot attached to it. Is Salt and Pepper, Push It. You probably weren't expecting me to say that song, but...
Not at all.
but think about that song, and now think about a new club that opens up, that's trying to be the high-end club of that area. They're charging $10, $15 for drinks, and they're trying to get that classy, that really upscale crowd. And that's the kind of place where owners probably don't want you playing Push It at 1 o'clock, because that's the typical, when I think of open format, that's the song that always gets a cheer, actually, when I play that song. But it's also a song that you wouldn't expect a DJ these days to maybe play at 1 o'clock on a Saturday or 12:45 as much. Now, what are they playing during that time? They're probably playing
Levels.
Well,
it's also different depending on where you are, because obviously most of the country closes down at 2 o'clock in the morning, let's say. As opposed to places like New York or Vegas or something, where Friday night, for example, I didn't start DJing until 1 o'clock in the morning. We had an opener on from 11 to 1, and the place was just getting going at 12:30, 12:45. And initially I was told that it was supposed to be an open format party, so I was like, all right, fine, whatever, it's easy, I like it. Upon arrival, they were just like, yo, could you keep it a little more hip hop based? Because I guess they were worried because Cypress Hill was there and had a table booked, and there were like several other people like chilling. So I was like, all right, it's not a problem. What do we do? Like, yeah, we did play like new hip hop, we did play old hip hop, we did play hip hop mashed with electronic, and we did play electronic music, we did play classics. We played a mix of everything, and there were no complaints. Everyone was happy. It was a good time. I mean, I had a blast. Other people seemed to have a good time. It's little things like that. It's like just playing for the environment and knowing what to play, when to play it. And there's certain things like timing. Timing is one thing I mentioned in the article that I feel like it's something that, although people go for classes and go for lessons, it's something that just comes with like experience and just putting in time at different clubs. Like, what will work when to play this, why you shouldn't be playing this right now, why maybe you should have waited, or just had to read a crowd and see how they like react to what you're playing and see what direction you should be taking them in.
So on back to the creativity thing, I guess. Where do you see DJs lacking in creativity, just in general? And
I feel like it's just really flat nowadays. It's just not a lot of. I go out, it's a lot of just straight like top 40 or things that you would expect. Nobody's really reaching out and playing like unexpected songs where you're just like, whoa, like I really haven't heard that in a while. And I mean, I'm not gonna say everybody, because there are plenty of exceptions out there, but not. I would have to say majority is in the opposite boat.
Where do you think, obviously, back in the mashup days, I think a lot of DJs put a lot of time into finding those random tracks and put a lot of energy into making mashups and stuff. Where do you think people are putting that energy these days, since it really does seem like they're not putting it into that anymore?
A lot of them have actually jumped ship and gone into electronic music production, and a lot of them are like, there are a lot of guys I'm friends with that did the same thing. They were straight up open format DJs, and now they're like quote unquote like house producers and stuff. And that's fine. Like, I don't care. Everyone can choose their own path, and whatever makes you happy, that's great. More power to you. But if you're really into something, you could definitely make it work. There's a will, there's a way. And I know it's kind of hard because a lot of, like you said, a lot of nightclubs, do they really want to have somebody playing Salt and Pepper Push It or something at a peak hour? Not a lot of them would be about it, but I think it's also about how you go about it. Like, we're not talking about you play a 20-minute classic set. What we're talking about, if you play like a new school song and all of a sudden you happen to have a way to work in, push it, and then you drop it into something else, like, nobody's really going to complain if the place is going crazy.
That's true. That's very true.
I agree. I mean, I was just thinking about how, like, where we DJ or Shrine. You've been to Shrine before.
Oh yeah, of course.
You were there when Paulie was there. We've been told they want to keep the music like cutting edge, which is understandable. And when I hear cutting edge, that's like the opposite of push it to me.
Yeah, and cutting edge sounds more like
not necessarily though. I think cutting edge is exactly the creativity that you're talking about. It's being more creative about the way you're playing songs, so you're not playing them the same way everybody else is, on top of the fact that maybe you're not playing exactly the same stuff that everybody else is playing at every other club around. It 100% has to do with creativity, I think.
Yeah, and people need to look outside the box. Don't look outside of like, let me just reach for some obscure song. No, you should be looking into like, whether it be key mixing, looking for like similar chords or synths or just something in a song that like meshes with something else and might sound similar. Maybe some wordplay. I mean, there's so many little things that you can do to make your set a little more creative, but also in the same respect, like, make sure it's always fun and exciting, something that isn't going to turn the crowd off or to like turn other people off to be like, oh God, why is this on right now? Or, when is this going to end? Or when is this party actually going to start? So
let me ask you this. I know you probably don't have that many days off. You said you just had a day off this weekend, but you're working most of the time. When you do get a chance to hear other DJs play, and I'm not talking about the guys like or AM, someone like that, but I'm talking about guys like the Scenes, the Infernos, those kind of guys. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about when you go out locally, how often are you impressed with the DJs? Do you ever hear DJs that you say, I've never seen this guy before, but I'm actually impressed. I went to this local bar and he's actually good. Does that ever happen?
Actually, yeah. There was a party I was at in LA about a week ago, and I met this dude for the first time. We actually have some mutual friends. He goes by the name DJ Busy. He's from LA. super chill dude. Basically, I heard him do like this whole set, and the whole thing kind of like blew me away. It was like straight up open format, very clean, very neat, like very well thought out. I mean, just something I hadn't heard in a while, and it was from somebody that I've never met or heard of, and until that night. And you know, I was very impressed. You know, I went up afterwards. I told him, I was like, listen, I thoroughly enjoyed your set. Told him why from A to Z, and you know, after that we drank some tequila.
I actually, I said on here last time too. I went out and it was West Hartford. It was probably like, it was a while ago now. It was probably 5 or 6 months ago, and I saw two guys that I'd never seen before. Ended up being DJ Emmy and DJ Ruels, and both actually did a really good job. I actually found out who they were after the fact, and I was definitely very impressed the last time I went out. So I have to say, I have seen stuff like what you talked about early in the article. But for the most part, I am usually pretty impressed with what I see when I do go out. I don't know. How about you?
I mean, it's so hard to be, well, not so hard, but it's more difficult to be a bad DJ these days than it ever has been in the past. I mean, the technology alone makes beat matching and things like that were key things that you had to know to be able to be a DJ in the past. You don't really need to focus on that kind of stuff anymore.
So I think now you nitpick more than before, though, because of that technology. I think. Well,
I mean, DJs can be smooth. They just have to have the right tracks and all that stuff. I mean, as far as being impressed by creativity and like kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit, I'd say. I mean, I don't really get to get out to see a lot of DJs, so it's hard for me to really say. But I would venture to say I'd probably be less impressed on that front. But I would be impressed that hey, this DJ got through the night fine, and they mixed fine, and transitions were fine, and their timing of their mixes was on point, and the crowd had fun. I mean, I'm sure that's happening more these days than ever, but that creativity that you're talking about, I think is still, I think it's definitely lacking.
Which is what you would think with technology. Like you said, you don't really need to focus as much. Like, I don't need to sit there and concentrate on like, oh, are these two songs beat match properly? No, because it's better, basically like just staring you in the face. I mean, you could still listen for it, but you don't necessarily need to stare at it. But it just opens up doors where you could play songs quicker. You could definitely be way more creative than you could in the past. You know, as opposed to whether you're loading in CDs or loading a vinyl or something, you know, all that took time. You can only transition so quick, and you were limited to what you were capable of doing.
I'm actually having one of those moments right now where I read your article, and I forget if we actually discussed this. This is in my mind still. I forget if we discussed this in this interview or if I just remember it from reading the article. It was about when the girl wanted a request.
Oh my God, yes.
Did we talk about that here yet?
No,
okay. So let's hear that story. That's a good story.
It actually was a good story. So I was doing a Halloween party at this place down in like the West Village several years ago. And this girl all night long, in like random, maybe 10, 20-minute segments, she's like, could you play this song? Could you play this song? I don't remember what it was. I kind of wish I did. It was just something that you immediately knew that this is something that should not be played at any party. It's something if you want to listen to in the comfort of your own home or your car or your iPod, that's great. But as far as at a party where people were dancing and having a good time, you don't want to play this. It does nothing to benefit it in any way, shape, or form. I could say if it was something unique and fun or maybe a little quirky, fine. But this thing was completely, you might as well have just played some like wedding romantic walk down the aisle song. So she goes over and she complains to management. I guess she had a bunch of friends there. They spent a bunch of money, and the place was just like, oh, could you play her song? Could you play her song? So I brought the same argument to management. I was like, listen, you guys don't want this, yada, yada. Give them the whole DJ spiel. And they were like, well, you kind of have to play her song. I was like, oh, really? I kind of have to play her song? Fine. Shut off what I was playing, threw on her song, and I just let it play for duration. Watched as people stopped dancing, started standing around. Some people left, you know. After that, I was just like, oh, maybe next time you shouldn't tell me what to do, you know. And they never came back to harass me for like, you know, song play after that. It's just like, you would probably take my word on if I tell you it's a horrible song and you don't want to play it regardless of how much money they spent.
Was management pissed?
I don't know whether they were or weren't. They didn't really portray it to me after that. So,
but you know that's another thing that goes into critiquing other DJs when you go out, because there's a lot of factors that the crowd isn't aware of
Oh yeah, of course.
It reminds me of a short story I read when I was younger. I don't know if you ever had to read this story. It's about some guy in line at a ski resort waiting for something, and the line was taking forever. And finally, he went up to complain. He threw a fit. He goes, "How come no one's saying anything? This is taking forever. This is way too long." And it turned out someone was having a heart attack. It was on the ground, and then that's what. Do you remember that short story? I don't know if anyone remembers that.
No, but it sounds similar to something.
It's like when you're in the crowd, you could be complaining and bitching about the DJ. Like someone might be bitching about you that you played that slow song. Like, what the hell is this DJ doing? And it turns out that it was a request that the person in the crowd has no idea. And that's why. I mean, at Scorpion Bar, I actually had a kid come up to me at the beginning of a night. Scorpion Bar is a lot of rock and roll. Kid came up to me. He was literally mad, like not upset or disappointed at the music. He was like mad, and he came up and he just looked at me, and he like kind of looked around. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like mad.
Like you personally offended him.
Oh yeah, and it's just if he knew that it was a rock bar, his image of me would be completely different. And I'm trying to think of what are some other factors besides just requests that might lead to a DJ doing something that you wouldn't normally expect that DJ to do at a club.
Could just be having a horrible night.
I mean, I'm trying to think of. Sometimes there could be an artist. I remember doing a gig one time where it was a mood swing artist who wasn't very popular, but he had a song, and he was actually there, and I played his song, and the crowd didn't really know it or anything, but I mean that's another small reason why you could be playing something that you wouldn't otherwise play. Bottle service VIP tables, which is kind of almost the same theme as what happened with you. There could be a table spending a lot of money that wants a certain song, or better yet,
someone just tips you a lot.
Yeah, I was just saying, better yet, you could get a big tip to play. Like, I think, was it last week when I talked about when I got tipped $100 to play 2 Metallica songs in a row? Mm-hmm. So everyone in the crowd must have been thinking, what the hell is this kid doing when he played? I actually was at 128 or something, and I scratched in a song that was at 93 BPM with an intro beat to it, just so I could earn my extra hundo. And that sounded whack. I admit it was whack, but I did it. There's a reason why I did it. So anyone who there could have been some DJ in the crowd who put on his Twitter, just heard a DJ scratch in, play 2 Metallica songs in a row, and he scratched in the second one that was like 50 BPM or 30 BPM less. I wonder how many people have taken pictures of me at Scorpion Bar, posted it on Twitter to be like, this is the worst DJ I've ever heard before, who's been playing an hour-long rock and roll set. I bet you it's happened before.
It probably is.
The other thing, to talk about tipping quick, I have my own personal policy where if it's something that's like way like off course, where I know like it'll fuck shit up, I kind of like have to turn people down, even if it creates like an argument along the line. But if it's something that's kind of like on par, or something that's like doable where you can kind of just mesh it in, you know what, fine. I don't see anything wrong with it, But as far as I've had people offer me money to play like an entire album or something like in a row, and I'm just like, dude, like no way. Because not only like, yeah, I might get some money from you, but then I have to deal with all of the BS that follows that, like all of the complaints I get from random people, and let's not forget management.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm pretty sure if you're playing the complete Jay-Z Kanye album, somebody's going to complain about it at some point, regardless of whether there are a lot of people that like it.
I just thought of another thing that a DJ could kind of play something weird, and there's a reason behind it. It's if management or the owners ever tell you to switch up your set for whatever reason. Like if you're at a bar that doesn't like a lot of hip-hop, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, switch it up, this is too much. And for normal people and requests, obviously, we work into it. But you know how it goes when owners or management tell you to do something, it's kind of next. So that could be another reason where you might hear a DJ do something a little weird that if you're in the crowd, you wouldn't understand what is going on exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
I had a perfect example. One night, a few months back, I was basically brought on to do a Wednesday night at a place that I had hung out on other nights at, but I'd never been here on this particular night, and I was told that they did something different on Wednesdays, but I wasn't sure what. So when they hired me for this Wednesday night, I asked them, I'm like, well, what do you guys do on Wednesdays? And they told me they were like, it's open format, like no mention of rock and roll, no mention of nothing. Just it was an open format party, keep it cool, whatever. Fine. So I come in, like any open format party, you're going, no complaints for like the first hour or so. Then I started picking it up once they started like, really, like the room started really filling up and like people started like getting up on couches and stuff. What do? Take the pace up a notch, right? And once things were getting like crazy, then management comes over and they're like, no, like we want to keep it like really chill and sexy and this and that. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Do you want me to play R&B? Like really, there was no mention of let's keep it cool and sexy. But now you're like scrambling to like switch it up. Then finally, like somebody who was able to like convey exactly what they wanted came over and said something after about a half an hour of them complaining. And they basically break it down to like, oh, like let's play like some old school like hip hop, some like chill like indie dance music and stuff. And I'm just like, yo, like if honestly, like if I was told this to begin with, I would just stay in that direction. But don't tell me something else and then expect me to on the fly now like let's play catch up and break the party down and stuff without it having it like adversely affect everything. And
that totally sucks too when people are already up there like raging and then you gotta like slow it down and then all those people are like, yo, what? Like, what are you doing? It
was the most ridiculous thing I've ever experienced in my life. I'm like, you have a full room of people here ready for a party and you just want to do nothing with it. You just want to keep it like very flat, very monotone. And after that, I just had to email and just tell them like, listen, like it's cool, but that's not for me.
I mean, it sucks anytime that you could, as a DJ, take the party to the next level, which is what our job usually is to do, and then you're told you have to kind of calm it down a little bit. It's kind of tough to do.
That's never fun. Never fun position. So let's talk about your touring with Pauly a little bit. How long have you been touring with him so far?
I'd say since like April, May, somewhere around there.
Cool, about 6 months, 5-6 months, something like that? 4 or 5?
Something like that.
So how has that experience been for you so far?
It's been fun. It's interesting because I meet so many people that automatically like to criticize him for stuff like, people like he doesn't DJ, he plays mixed sets. And me and him now joke about it because, it's like, what do you expect? You expect him to be like Paris Hilton, where she has somebody there mixing, like playing with knobs? No, like he does everything himself. Dude mixes. He could scratch. He could play hip hop. He plays essentially open format sets.
But by the way, in our last episode, I actually talked about this. We heard a hater say that Pauly is a disgrace to EDM, which was I read that in a comment section somewhere.
Since when does he represent EDM? That's so funny.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody also commented here underneath the article, some DJ, great article, totally agree with that being said. I can only imagine how much cred you lose when you're on tour with Pauly D.
Wow.
And it makes me laugh. And, it's like, what? I wrote back to him. I was like, only disgruntled people hate and discredit others. Success is the best revenge.
Well, you must know Vibe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vibe is from Providence, and he hangs out with, what's his name? Biggie and Pauly as well, and he's had some haters from that as well, which is absolutely ridiculous.
And you're not doing anything right until you have haters. I mean, it's a fact,
Yeah, well, you know what? The same goes for like any DJ. You could have the most flawless night ever, where the majority of the place just goes crazy, apeshit, like out of control night of your life, and you're always gonna get that one dude or a couple of people that are just like, this DJ was awful. They were horrendous.
Oh, dude, if you ever go to any YouTube videos of DJ AM, there's haters saying that on all those. There's nothing out there, no person, no matter how good they are at what they do, who's immune to haters.
Oh yeah, well that's why I say the only people that, I mean, you know what? Let's bring up something else. You guys know DJ Vice, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But I use him as a perfect example. Now, I didn't know him from a hole in the wall. I met him through a friend of mine. And could he have been a little like, egotistical in some way? Perhaps. But is he? No. Vice is the nicest, most laid back guy.
Really
and someone like him or someone like DJ Riz and these guys that have no ego, they're very cool, very down to earth. If they're not hating and they're just like doing their thing and just living life and just DJing, than for me to meet some like average Joe or just some like random guy who just decides to throw some level of hatred out there. It just tells me that A, they're being a tool, and B, they're just disgruntled that they don't have either the same level of success or that something in their life is off, and they just need to take it out on somebody else. Well, so it's like it's a real like immature thing on their part.
I think I saw someone write it on Facebook or Twitter. People always write the greater than sign. They'll post two things. They always do that on Twitter and Facebook. Someone wrote the local DJ's ego greater than the very successful DJ's ego. And I think that does tend to be true sometimes. It is kind of funny how that works.
Yeah, it's the most the successful guys, and they have no need to have an ego, I guess. I mean, ego is there like almost by necessity for.
No, but you know what? I'll use you two guys as an example. Like, yeah, like we all do well for ourselves, but we're not like Tiesto. But are we egotistical DJs? No, we're not. No. You know, we're chill dudes. Like we do our thing. And is everyone sitting there dumping on everyone else? No, everyone's just like happy, helping each other out, like whatever you guys need, you know. And that's how the system should work, as opposed to people trying to dump on one another when there are so many venues, so many avenues in which people can make money. I mean, the fact that people backstab each other for like these little nonsense gigs is hilarious.
Usually it's only for a couple $100. Like,
exactly.
Is that really worth it? Like that could screw up your entire career because you messed with this person for the complete wrong reasons over.
Oh, and I know people who have had issues like that where they screw one person over and the other person does everything to shaft that person. And it's just, I just look at it as, I guess, from like the karma perspective. What goes around comes around, and as far as I'm concerned, that's true. So for you to shaft somebody for like nonsense, it's a complete waste of time. You know, it's just complete immaturity.
I mean, I think sometimes we forget that because we're really focused on the DJ world, and at least me, most of the articles I read are all about DJing and stuff. But there's people like this in everything. Like if you go to AOL.com or read some random article that's not DJ related, there's haters in that. There's just haters. People are just haters. So I mean, sometimes we forget it's not just DJs. It's although DJs, I think they are the worst. Even you mentioned Vice. I remember watching. Was it his birthday set that they broadcast this year? And there was a lot of haters on there. I think another word for hater is troll. It's kind of it's one of my favorite words. And all the trolls were out in full force saying, "Oh, that song was a little off that he just mixed." Like, really? Are we really gonna do this?
Oh, really?
That goes into one of the other factors that could affect the DJ's set. How much have they been drinking that night?
Well, that's true.
Oh yeah, that's an obvious factor. But then also let's look at this. I don't care who you are, who has a flawless set. You know, you want to see how people mix. How about instead of people putting out pre-recorded sets or like pre-mixed sets through like Ableton or something, try live recording a set, posting it online, and see what everyone comments and how you actually sound versus just throwing out some level of criticism.
I'm too afraid.
It's very true.
Another thing too, just to touch on that, is I've always felt that when you record yourself live and you listen back, you actually like you hear your mistakes and you actually correct them, and as you keep recording yourself and keep playing it back with like practice and stuff, like I would do this a lot at home just for myself. You actually do notice like improvements and like things getting cleaner and things sounding better. So I don't know, just another random tip I guess you can throw out there.
I think people should definitely record themselves because you really can't critique yourself until you have done that and do listen back. That's really the best way to learn. It really is.
Yeah, I mean everyone thinks they sound great live, but you know, what you think? Yeah.
No, I was gonna say that. I mean, I try to be as flawless, and every DJ does, as possible in terms of transitions and blends and nothing off at all. And I get kind of pissed at myself when I mess up and something's a little bit off and you have to touch the record a little bit and get it back on. And I mean, really maybe I'm too hard on myself because the crowd at the time doesn't notice those little things. They just make me frustrated. But I mean, I assume if you were to take home your recorded set and even hear stuff that's off, I don't know how much of it the crowd actually gets to hear when the music is that loud and they're screaming and dancing. So I mean, I don't know how perfect you have to get, like, as opposed to listening to DJ Vice.
Is so minuscule. It's like a flange on a beat for like one beat, and then you correct it, and like, no, people aren't paying that close attention when they're in the club.
Yeah, stuff like that.
If your friends have to ask you when you're out with them, is this DJ any good? Like, they don't know. That's why they're asking you. They're not. They don't even know. They have no idea.
That's a whole other subject. Is what non-DJs in the crowd look for in a good DJ. Their view is all based on if you play their request or not. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
That's a whole other issue that we could talk about forever.
Yeah.
The whole like cleanliness factor is really more for, I guess, either myself or other DJs or just yourself. It's not really for the average Joe. Like, they're not going to know the difference.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, but as far as like creativity and stuff, like, people that go out like do kind of realize, what's up. As long as it's not something that's like so obscure and But
we agree. So we're gonna post a link to
the article.
Article,
which was on. Let me just make sure I get this right. It was on Hot Nightlife.
Yes.
HAUTE nightlife.com. So yeah, we'll have a link to that. So definitely go check it out. I mean, great article, lots of good points. You even got into some stuff we didn't talk about here, like how to properly tune the sound system, things like that, like volume levels, things like that.
One thing I didn't understand from the article: should they be in the red or out of the red? What did you say about that?
Well into the red. Okay. All you see is just red.
Okay. All red.
Red. So
all red all the time.
More red is better.
We aim for distortion the most possible.
Okay.
No, it says stay out of the red in big bold letters. Stay out of the red.
I know. Have you ever been to a club? I did a club once that had something written and taped to the mixer with an arrow, said "above here is retarded." It said that. They actually taped that to the mixer.
I had that on the DJing 800 at Shrine for a while. I had no red, like in big bold letters with like little stickers you can put on, like print out.
Some people, it's not that they don't want to, they just don't think about it. It's like not even second nature. It's not even in their mind to think about levels and sound and how it sounds and how, if it's red in Serato, and just because it's not red on the mixer doesn't mean it sounds good out there. If you're clipping in Serato, it's coming distorted out of Serato going into the sound system. So if it's like red in Serato, red on the mixer, it just sounds awful in the room.
Yeah, I think a lot of DJs, I mean, you're listening at a decent level through the monitors, and your ears kind of compensate, and over time, it just doesn't sound as loud. So they keep turning it up. By the end of the night, especially the monitors are like cranked all the way so they can still feel like the music is at the same volume. And I think they think the same way about the dance floor. Like, they think it's still not loud enough on the dance floor after they've been listening to the monitors cranked in their ears for 2 hours. Oh, let's turn it up more. Let's turn it up. Like, no, the volume is fine.
It's ridiculous.
It's fine.
One little subliminal thing that happens to me sometimes is, I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys, when if you've been doing a night and it's not as busy as you want it to be, especially if there's really not many people on the dance floor at all, sometimes you get that feeling of frustration, like, are you doing something wrong? And then, like, without even noticing it, you kind of turn the volume up a little bit to try to, just make it feel like it's something extra. That happens to me sometimes. I don't know if I'm just weird.
I'm sure many people do that.
So that's something I have to control when people are.
I think it was maybe Audio One that had a good article about this. I forget the term that he used, but basically about how you do become accustomed as a DJ to the volume, and after a while you just think it sounds low.
Yeah. It's just a physical thing your ears do. I mean,
yeah.
They physically compensate for that volume, and they like kind of close up a little bit, and then to get that same volume, you gotta.
Usually, I'm actually the other way around. As weird as it is, I always get yelled at Shrine for having the volume too low.
Yeah, I don't turn my monitors up very loud at all. Usually, the only time I really will is if there's a lot of people in the booth with me, who obviously want to be able to hear the sound, and with the monitors off, it's you're not getting direct sound like you are on the dance floor. So that's really the only time I really turn it up that loud.
Have you ever used the Shrine monitors to try to get people out of the booth? Like turn it up wicked loud?
I've never done that. That
I thought
sounds
about doing
crazy.
that before.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much, Danny Rockz, for coming on, talking about your article. And hopefully we can have you on again, maybe talk more about the whole Pauly D experience and how that is going. And I mean, that just seems like a great time. So congrats for being able to do that.
Thanks for having me, guys. And yeah, you know, I can, like I said, I love nightlife. I can talk about it for days. Anybody wants to email me, they can feel free to do so. I like answering questions. So
What's your email address?
it's just djdannyrockz@gmail.com.
How about a website, Twitter, Facebook, that kind of stuff too?
Yeah, it's all linked from that article anyway.
Oh, cool.
Just dannyrockz.com. Go nuts.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And as always, leave a comment down there or email us at remixreport@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. See ya.
Later, fellas.
Remixreport.com.